Hey everyone, so continuing my trend of artsy first-person video games, we're going to be doing Obduction. So this is a game that is by, what is it, Cyan Worlds, I think? It came out also pretty recently, and it is the spiritual sequel to a couple other Cyan Worlds games that you might have heard of called, I don't know, Myst and Riven. So this is a pretty exciting release here. This game got kickstarted back in 2013, and I guess it's now 2016. So pretty fast turnaround, I think. I mean, pretty reasonable turnaround. So I didn't really hear about this game at all. I didn't know if it was hyped or anything like that. It just kind of all of a sudden people were talking about it, and I was like, whatever, it's new. I might as well play it. So yeah, spiritual sequel to Myst. If you've never heard of Myst, it was one of the most successful first 3D games ever made. Like, this is back in like the early 90s, I think. Myst comes out. Everything in that game was pre-rendered, but it was all 3D. And people were like, wow, I can't figure this out. And the cool thing about Myst games is that they have these very non-traditional puzzles and whatnot. So you don't really get like... You walk into a room and there's a puzzle in the middle of the room and you're like, I don't know how to solve this. And that's basically, you just go from room to room just figuring it out. And like, that's kind of what I'm expecting to see here. I expect this game to also be in 3D, and judging by the asteroids and meteors and meteorites, and wow, I just only revealed that I know extremely little about astronomy. Regardless, these big old space rocks, this is probably going to be 3D as well. So, we have... we're going to go with... That's actually really interesting. So the original Myst was a point-and-click game that later on, like 2 or 3 years later, they invented the free roam version of it. So that's actually really cool that they went ahead and did that. I will go with the free roam navigation myself, so that allows me to control it like a traditional first-person shooter game. And we'll call this Obduction, because it's short for bird suction. We dropped off the S and all the other things. Play. I wonder if there's going to be a cutscene with dialogue that's like, in the world of Obduction, there are people that get abducted. Nope. Cool. Works well enough for me. So, we have ESC to open up the menu. And, oh, we have photos. Well, I haven't taken any, which makes me one of the world's worst photographers, apparently. There's the person talking over everything.
Everything but our stories. And they shouldn't be forgotten. I was 3. It was April of 1980. Cecil, it was 1870 for you. Sam and Vera, you tell it like it was yesterday, but it's been 62 years since you saw that blast of light.
Huh. Video or audio kind of sounded a little bit garbled. I'm not sure if that's on my end or if that's on the game's end.
That's where all of our new stories began.
Huh.
Streaked across the sky, mesmerized, but unnerving.
I
Even in
assume...
daylight, Joseph, you said, was gloriously bright.
Good lord.
In the twilight, it was spellbinding.
Her
Whether it was in the deep
voice.
woods like Cecil or right outside town like Jane and Jenny, we were drawn to see more. Vera, you said you recall smiling. None of us understood. But, well, we followed. And we all felt some kind of trepidation, yet attraction. As we approached it and approached us.
I can't move.
You There was no turning away. It advanced, almost like purposefully spinning slowly until, well, found us, each of us. We should tell these stories because It saved us, and there must be.
Ugh. I guess I'm getting abducted. But, wow, that was such an unsettling voice effect that they had going on there. Especially as a Let's Player, because I immediately assumed, like, oh, my audio must be screwed for this recording. No. Okay, that makes it actually much more unsettling than I guess it could have been otherwise. But, so far, pretty cool stuff. Really digging the art style. We kind of have, I guess you could say, like, a more realistic version of The Witness. I don't know. It's very low poly, but, like, really, really, really beautiful textures. I mean, my goodness, this little section looks absolutely wonderful with, like, the HD lighting and stuff like that. So they're really showing off a lot of their technical stuff going on here. So I was at a lake. I'm now apparently on, what's the name? Tatooine. Yeah, I've definitely been abducted here. Also, if you look at the sky, like, it's got a really... There's like a weird fisheye effect going on to everything. It's not exactly the most comfortable thing. There's also, you know, there's sound effects around me, like all stereo, that sound like there's stuff like sneaking up behind me or like up on the cliffs and stuff like that. You know, typical spooky as hell things. Ah, welcome to Hunrath. Good thing they speak English on this planet. Alright, if I take a... Well, I could take a picture of it, but that's about it. I don't know if this is like some Fatal Frame shit, like I'm gonna be using the camera to fight stuff, but I assume what it's actually doing is it's supposed to be like my journal. Like I take pictures of the puzzle and I'm like, ooh, look at that, I know how to solve the puzzle later on, and that's how I can take notes. Because it used to be that you would just have to write stuff down and draw pictures for yourself in these sorts of old school puzzly type of video games. Ah. Well. Oh good, a lever. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this. And in a typical Myst, or Obduction, I guess I should say, fashion, you interact with a thing and you don't have any sort of feedback whatsoever about whether or not it actually did things correctly. Let's go ahead and flick that over. Is this like an old western town? What does this say? Hartnell methamphetamine. Warning. Do not approach anything that even remotely resembles this diagram unless it has been disabled. Unfortunately, I believe I was approached by it, so maybe that'll be a convincing alibi. Like, I don't know, I just kind of saw it flying around and I didn't think anything of it. Okay, so if there's, like, stuff on the clothesline, then this area was very, very recently occupied, you have to assume. But I guess since the place is also abandoned at the same time, it means that everyone had to leave this area very rapidly. Very peculiar. I assume I'm gonna figure all this out eventually. Or I'll do what I typically do, which is not pay attention to things. This is shiny, and I also get an indicator whenever I mouse over it. Do I? Or maybe I just get indicators whenever I mouse over anything that's, like, kind of not background stuff. Okay, I guess I'll inspect this later. Let's see, what kind of hand is this? We have 2 aces, 3, 7, and a 9, so that's a pretty decent hand of Texas Hold'em. You know, 2 aces out on the table is very, very interesting. I guess if you probably become a high card game unless somebody had a 3rd ace and they got a 3 of a kind there. Not particular. This is not a poker night at the inventory. This is Obduction here. As you can tell, I really don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I guess I'll just continue to explore things. This one I already flicked, so let's just flick it back the other direction and see what this thing's about. Oh, I don't know if this is a checkpoint or what. Downtown Hunrath. Yeah, these must be checkpoints, right? Like, that's the only way that really makes a whole lot of sense. If we... Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, because every time I've seen one of these things, it's been next to a sign that says, like, Uptown, Shibbidabap. And I assume that I'm probably going to get, like, the ability to teleport between all those locations and stuff like that. Because playing video games that don't have that ability, especially if they're explory type of games, really kind of sucks. Oh good, I can sprint. Let's just go ahead and do that for forever. I kind of wonder why first-person exploration video games even give you the ability to walk if you're just going to hold down the sprint key literally the entire time. Unless there really is, like, legit one section, and there almost always is, like, one section where you have to kind of creep around. Oh. Is this a force field, or a laser beam, or what? That's neato. Ah! That is extremely hard on the eyes. Good thing that video games aren't a visual medium, and that I'm not uploading this onto more visual mediums. Okay, let's flip this switch as well.